Hi, my name is Megan Flanagan, owner of 609 Media, and today I'm going to give you a quick talk about my six-step framework to selling your services. And this is really a beginner's guide to selling your services. One of the things that happens in entrepreneurship is you decide to jump and dive into this field, and you have great ideas. Your mind is bubbling with the things you could do, and then you come to the step where you realize, oh my goodness, I have to sell myself. I have to sell my services or sell my product. And if you've never had sales experience, or even if you have, you might all of a sudden freeze up. So I've developed this six-step framework after really diving in and thinking about all that I have learned in the sales process, and put this together for you. So my six-step framework, and you'll get a handout about this too. There should be an attachment here, so you don't have to worry about taking notes. But the six-step framework is: first, frame the call, then ask them about themselves, them being the person you're speaking with. The next step is share something about yourself. The fourth step is the connection. The fifth step is engage, and this is where you're going to pitch. And then the fifth is restate and closing the call. So of course, now you're wondering, who am I? So again, my name is Megan Flanagan. I have been in retail for over 30 years, selling, buying, and planning. I have worked all over the world teaching others how to sell. My last job was at QVC, which to date is an $11 billion TV internet streaming retailer. Prior to that, I have worked in retail in London, New York, Honolulu, in the Bay Area of California, and then back home at QVC. But the reason I share that with you is because I have been exposed to many different cultures, many different styles of the way people sell. And as I mentioned earlier, I've kind of, as I jumped into entrepreneurship 5 years ago and started my own company. In fact, my 5-year anniversary is today, so I'm really happy I'm doing this. I realized quickly I had to sell my services and pitch to people. And of course, even I froze up, even the person that had been selling since she was 14. But part of diving into entrepreneurship and discovering what your passion is, you also get to discover who you are and what you love. And I never loved the idea of sales. It always had a slimy connotation to it. And my coach and mentor had turned that around for me and flipped my mindset. And now I think of sales as serving people. And I know you hear Christy and Nellie say those phrases all the time. How can I serve you best? And I think when you approach it that way, it really takes the negative connotation out of selling. And I just figure anybody I can serve and help. If anything I say today resonates with any one of you, and you're able to sell your services to create an income that supports you or your family, that's the goal here. So again, just going back to who am I, I'm also the founder of 609 Digital Marketing Company. And I also coach female entrepreneurs in sales, mindset, and business. So why don't we just dive into this framework, and let me just frame the framework and let you know how it came to be. So I had been sitting one day doing sales calls for a high ticket salesperson, and the programs were anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 that I was selling. And a friend of mine had also happened to be over that day, sitting at my dining room table with me. We were co-working, and I said, "Do you mind? I have to take some calls." And she listened, and she is a systems analyst. And she said, "What did you just do?" After listening to me for about 20 minutes. And I said, "I'm just selling." And she's like, "No, there's a framework here." So that's how this was created. And I like to call it a framework because I love for you to learn the framework, practice it. And then when you start having success, add your own spin on it, add your own personality. It's like a good chocolate chip recipe. chocolate chip cookie recipe. Somebody's going to give you the basics. Toll House does it on the back of every package. And then all of a sudden, as you become a better baker, you start to shift some things. You may add some nuts, some raisins, double the amount of chocolate chips. So that's how I like to compare a framework. It's much like a recipe. Learn the recipe, master the recipe, and then make it your own and add your own unique spin on it. So without further ado, I will go into the first step, framing your call. About 1 hour before your call, I love to find out who you are talking to. And I challenge people, and I really do say to them, be a detective. Now, me personally, I like to do it the day before, but at least give yourself an hour prior to the call so you're not walking in blindly. And then about 10 minutes before the call, what I really like to challenge you to do is clear your space, review your notes, and be prepared. Grab water, turn off your phone. If you're like me, put the puppy in the crate, or make sure I take the puppy for a walk so she's by my feet the whole time. And then this is critical, this part. When they pick up the phone and say hello, I always tell people, this is when you are in the driver's seat of the call. And there are so many psychological reasons for this that I don't dive into at this time, but it's really important. This is one of those things I'd love for you to master when you're doing your discovery calls. And everybody I have talked to that has done this has seen a change in their confidence in the way they sell and the amount of closing they are doing. So you're gonna get on the phone and you're gonna state, or Zoom or whatever, but when you have this discovery call, you're gonna state your intent, the length of the call. Remember, you own this call. Always start with, and this is a line I crafted. Hi, this is Megan from 609 Media. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me regarding your need for social media. I have approximately 30 minutes to chat with you today. Does this time still work for you? And then I wait. And 99.9% they say yes. Again, another psychological trigger, which I won't go deep into. This is your first yes you've gotten from what is hopefully your future client. But I challenge you to master that one line that I just spoke about. And again, that'll be in the presentation for you. Sit there, practice it. It is a mouthful, but what it does, it positions you as the authority. And people want to give their money to people who are in positions of authority. So step number 2, you're going to ask them about themselves. How many times, if you've had a discovery call when you first started, you jump in and you're like, here's me, here's what I can do, here's what I know, blah, blah, blah. And really the reverse needs to happen. You need to ask the customer about themselves. Remember, they're your client. They want to be perceived as you are the experienced person, and you're going to take control of kind of them and their business and take care of them. So you want to ask them about themselves. And this is where I like to ask the client to tell me something about themselves, their business, and share what they are looking to have me help them with. Even if I've done my detective work and I can see their accounts are a mess, I know what they need. I certainly don't tell them that at this point in time, and maybe not ever, but I like for them to tell me. So some examples of what you may say is, I would love to start the call out with you telling me a bit about yourself, your business, and why you're interested in X, Y, or Z. So I may say why you're interested in, a social media strategy. I also like to ask about what has been their biggest problem in the past. Has it been a former agency they worked with? Has it been a former strategy they worked? I don't lead the question though. I just merely say to them, what has been your biggest problem in the past? And keep it that simple. And again, pause and let them speak. During this time of the call, the client should be doing 90% of the talking. So it's really counterintuitive to maybe what you had felt you should do on a discovery call or what you've done in the past. The next step is you're going to share something about yourself. So based on what the client has told you, this is where you're going to share something about yourself. Now, what I like to do within my due diligence and the research I've done on at least that hour ahead of the call or the day prior, I like to look for connections or things we have in common so that I can pull out at this point in the conversation, I pull out my relevant experience to illustrate how I can solve their problem or help them based on the information they have shared with me. So they may have shared just the tiniest nugget of something, but I hopefully know exactly what they're referring to because I've dug in deep to, you know, their profiles and have kind of an idea of maybe what they need. But again, I never assume. I just do my due diligence and I be that detective trying to figure out all the things about them because, you know, I don't know where the call is going to go. So I like to be prepared with things. And that'll make sense further down too. The third part is the connection. And this is the opportunity to, what I say, create the thread that ties you together with this client, either in a moment or forever. I think this is really important to remember because just because you pitch somebody, they may say no at this time, but they may be so pleased with the experience of you pitching them or then sending a proposal that they might refer you out. So I always say, you're not only affecting a thread that ties you to this client just for a moment, but it may be forever. And this person could come back to you in a year if they, you know, if they really didn't have the money to work with you, but they think to themselves, when I get to that next step in my business, I will call Megan and hire her for sure. So I always look for that opportunity to create a connection with them. And this is where that connection, it's my opportunity I'm looking for to share something that makes the client like, know, and trust me. You're not pitching your services here, but clearly, if you've done your, again, I keep referring to it as detective work, due diligence, you're looking for that commonality. The best excuse I can, the best example I use is that, you know, clearly if I have seen that a client has just been on vacation to Hawaii, I may say, oh, that reminds me of, you know, they may tell me something about a bad experience and I'll be like, oh, that reminds me of, you know, something that happened while I was working in Hawaii. And they're going to say, oh, we were just on vacation there. And it kind of subtly connects you without saying, oh, I see you've been to, you know, it's that understood connection. And again, I wish I could go deeper, but just trust me on this. Look for the thread that connects you. The next step is engage. And this is where you do pitch. And a lot of this, I will go back and say, from top to bottom of this 6-step framework, it seems like it is 6 steps because I broke it down, but it really is a flowing thing that's very natural. So once you break down the steps and you practice it each time, I promise you'll get better and better and realize the steps and follow them. So the next step is engage, and this is where you're going to pitch. So after you've had a brief back and forth, you know, and you've found that connection, you're then going to state why you're on this call. So I may say, hey, Nellie and Chrissy, you know, thank you again for jumping on this call. I'm so glad you reached out to me for help with social media services. And I'm glad you want my expertise. So you're going to state why you're on the call and the fact that they reached out to you and they wanted your expertise. And then I do what's called connecting the dots for the client. And I explain why I am their only choice. So again, you may have a nice little stat or fact or one-liner from a case study you've done, or something to really kind of like say, hey, here's why I'm your only choice. And boil it down to one thing based on what they've told you and what you've discovered in your detective work. I then remind them of their problem, because hopefully earlier when you've asked them what their problem has been, they've told you. So I remind them of that problem, and then I restate the solution I'm providing them. This is also the part of the engage step where I say, if you want to be bold, and I challenge you on this, tell them where your basic pricing starts. And once I started doing this, it was a game changer for closing sales. So for me, 3 years ago, this is where I added, I reminded them of the problem. So Nellie and Chrissy, you told me you need help with your social media. And just remember, I'm going to put together a proposal for you. And I just want to let you know that my packages start at $1,000 a platform. Do you think that that would be okay? Or no, that's not even what I would say. What do I usually say? I just say my packages start at $1,000, and then I just stop. Again, moment of silence. Practice it, because even just then I'm a little rusty. I haven't done these calls in a while. Because I have such a lovely network, but just practice it. My platforms start at $1,000 a month. My email sequences start at this. Whatever your service is, figure it out, and what is your basic package? This will save you time and heartache, I promise you, because on this call, this is a discovery call. Wouldn't you love to know if you are way out of somebody's league and not spend time on a proposal, just crafting that proposal, and then the angst of sending it out, because 9 times out of 10, we all experience that. If you don't, hats off to you, because I still do at this point. But it's a great, it's a game changer, because it also solidifies you as an expert, and hey, this is where my prices start. And then the last part of this engagement step is asking them if they're interested in changing their current situation. So, I may say, let's rewind, and I'll give you the example. So, I may say, okay, Nellie and Chrissy, you said we're really having some tough times with your social media and curating it, crafting great content. I know we can provide you such a really good solution to really use your voices and speak to your audience. I know we can do that for you. My services start at $1,000 a platform. Are you interested in changing your current situation? Silence. Because they're going to say, well, they're going to be like, okay, $1,000, either it's going to work or not, and you're going to know right away. But of course they're interested in changing their current situation. They wouldn't be on the phone with you. So again, there's going to be either a subliminal yes or an emphatic yes, and you're going to see that instantly. And you may not, I will say, as you're trying this in the beginning, you may not see it right away, but once you do these all the time, you're going to know right away if somebody's in or not, even before you've written the proposal, by the fact that you've mentioned your price and asking if they're interested in changing their current situation. So this part then sets you up for the final step of the framework, and that is the restate. And that is where you summarize the call, you're clear with your intention, instruct them as to what will happen next, thank you for their time, and then follow up when you say you will. So again, summarizing whatever you discussed, and being clear with your intention means if you intend to write up a proposal, do it, tell them when you'll send it out, and then follow up when you say you will. If they say that's too, if you've gotten bold and you've said my services start at $1,000 platform, and they're like, oh, that's a little too much. Is there something we could do? I challenge you not to lower your prices, so that when you do say that statement, whatever your price is and that service, that you stick to it. But depending on who you are and what your situation is, you may want to say, I'll go back and revisit to see if I can do anything for you or recommend anybody. And if you do that, I would challenge you also follow up with them when you say you will. But again, I know this is a quick talk, but I hope you are excited about selling and selling your services. So it's a really, it's an exciting time for you. And once you master this step, you will, as I say, never go hungry again. So good luck with selling, And thanks so much for your time.